Toontastic is a digital storytelling tool that empowers creative writers to draw, animate, and narrate cartoons through imaginative play. It has the potential to be an amazing teaching tool as it teaches students the fundamentals of storytelling, using conflict, climax, resolution, all parts of the story arc. Through this application, available for free download to an iPad through the App Store, students are able to digitally tell a story by animating characters, narrating their story using their own voices, and by adding music. Students are able to add their face to their creations and/or record dialogue to go along with their story. They can then play their creation as if it were a real animated film. Students can save their creations to the iPad's camera roll in order to share it with others by means of presentation, email, online submission, etc. Toontastic is extremely simple to use and manipulate. Students simply follow the steps that are provided throughout the application to go through the entire process. Students may find this challenging, however, if they do not understand the fundamentals of storytelling. Therefore, it might be a good idea to first teach a few lessons on the elements of storytelling before beginning to use this tool in the classroom. Although Toontastic is listed as being designed for children's ages 6 to 8, after playing with the app, I feel that Toontastic is relevant to students in kindergarten all the way up to grade 6. It would depend on the approach the educator places on the application and the expectations for the students. Toontastic is extremely simple to use and to manipulate. Students simply follow the steps that are provided throughout the application to follow through with their process of creating their own story. Students, however, may find this challenging if they do not understand the fundamentals of storytelling. Therefore, it might be a good idea to first teach a few lessons on the elements of storytelling before beginning the use of the tool in the classroom. The developers of Toontastic, LaunchPad, has also created a variety of tools available online that will assist parents and educators who wish to use Toontastic as an educational tool. Toontastic does not require internet access other than during the initial download. The application does not require information in order to register or accept user agreements for information guidelines. The only time the application or its designer, LaunchPad, would require information is if you contact them, which would be the educator's responsibility. Toontastic's visual and auditory media are aesthetically pleasing to young children due to the simple images that are bright, visually appealing, rounded, and cartoon-like. The instructions are relayed to the students in verbal form, but can be turned off in the application settings if desired. Although students can choose to bypass the instructions when they reach the explanation of a cartoon story arc, the instruction expectations for each subsection of the story arc, character, setting, conflict, challenge, climax, and resolution, cannot be circumvented. Other than the use of verbal instructions, this application does not offer any other accessibility accommodations, such as subtitles, and this may hinder its use in the classroom. As a positive, the entire application is interactive with and responsive to children's engagement, as the children actually have to select their setting, characters, etc., manipulate their own characters and scenes in order to create their story, and can draw or add pictures to replace the app's scenes and/or characters. Children can also add their own voices to either narrate the story or just to add silly sounds. The application makes use of a series of explanations/instructions that are delivered as each specific task arises. For example, the instructions for choosing the setting or emotions are delivered when the instructions are applicable within the student's learning process. The instructions are systematically delivered as they are described, and then the student practices/creates. Unfortunately, however, the application does not offer explicit examples. Although the program records the student's work as a part of the application itself, these recordings can be overridden if the student decides to redo a section of the story. In this case, these components of the creation process or rough drafts are lost, and the true benefit of the program is visible in the final copy only. Any educational recommendations and assessment criteria would be made up to the teacher to choose an outline, as the program does not evaluate the student's story. Furthermore, the program does not support users who experience difficulty while interacting with the application. Thus, this responsibility would be left up to the teacher as well. There are many different possibilities that an educator could do in order to relieve the stress of not being able to follow the writing process to the ability of overriding rough copies. An educator could have students develop only a good copy using Toontastic and have the students develop their rough drafts using the old-fashioned pen and paper method before providing the application. Another possibility includes providing the application and having students submit a rough copy, critique it either themselves or have another student critique it, and then have them go back and recreate it with the improvements recommended by themselves or their peers. By simply selecting New Cartoon, students are guided to the story arc. Here, students are walked through setup, conflict, challenge, climax, and resolution. A brief description of each is given at the bottom. By selecting the paintbrush icon, students are guided into settings. Here, they can slide through and choose a setting that represents their story. This setting can change from scene to scene. Once they have selected their setting, they are then posed with the ability to select various characters in order to put into their scene. They select their characters by simply tapping on the images of the characters below. Once they have selected their character, all students have to do is place their character into their scene that reflects their storyline. They can move any of their arms and legs, tails, in order to have the characters act out. When they have all their characters placed into their scene, all they have to do is select Start. Once they have selected Start, it will count down 3, 2, 1, action, and then the students can move their characters any which way that they would like in order to act out the scene. The more characters they have, the more fingers they will need, however, so sometimes you may have to buddy up and have a friend help you out. Once they have finished the scene, the application will show them what they have done. Once they have finished, all they need to do is select the arrow that is flashing, and they are taken to add music. They can choose between a variety of different emotions located on the bottom, and move their image up and down to create a different type of tension. So if they move it all the way up, then they could show outraged, shocked, ecstatic, passionate, or hysterical or terrified. If they move it all the way down, it lowers the emotions and makes them more timid. When they are finished this, all they do once again is select the next arrow, and they will be taken back to the editing page. Here they can move on to the conflict. This continues on throughout the challenge, climax, and resolution. Students can go back and alter any of their scenes as they wish to make it reflect their storyline better. Once they have finished, all they do is select Done, and they are taken to a page that gets them to put in their movie title and the director. Then they can either export it to the camera roll or keep it on Toontastic for later. Then they select the big green arrow, and Toontastic showcases their story in their own theater. The opportunities to create digital stories are endless with the Toontastic application. Students have the ability to be as creative as they would like to, and to share all their creative ideas with their friends and family. It provides an excellent resource for teaching instruction and allows students to learn the story arc and various other language arts expectations through fun and active play.